KWT slaying.
What if the truth was never lost, only buried? For centuries, historians, scholars, and even colonial records have confirmed what many tried to silence. The original Israelites were a black people scattered across continents but never erased. Their skin was dark, their customs ancient, and their covenant with Yah eternal. This journey uncovers how the Spanish and Portuguese Jews, described as dark-skinned, Semitic, shared one bloodline. Chased by the Inquisition, many fled to Portugal, then beyond, preserving their heritage across borders. But the story doesn't end in Iberia. Across from West Africa, black Jews built synagogues, kept Torah, and passed down the laws of Moses. The Limba in southern Africa, the Igbo in Nigeria, the Beta Israel in Ethiopia, tribes across the continent boldly declared, "We are the children of Israel." These aren't isolated claims. These are voices rising from the dust, connected by oral histories, Torah traditions, and the unbroken rhythm of their identity. No such legacy exists among European Jews. No centuries of tribal witness, no matching traditions, no trace of ancient covenant keeping. Maps, art, and archaeology tell the same story. The Israelites were scattered, enslaved, and displaced, but never lost. The world always knew who they were. Their presence was visible, their customs alive, their story intact. This book doesn't speculate. It confirms the Israelites were black, bound by blood, culture, and covenant to the Most High. This is not just history, it's restoration. The truth was never destroyed, only buried beneath centuries of deception. Get your copy of They Always Knew We Were Israelites today, available now on Amazon.com.
Salam, my family. Salam. How y'all doing today? Hope you're blessed and highly favored. So today we're going to be talking about crypto, stable coins, and other things. And maybe we'll get into what's happening in the prophecy realm as well. We'll see. Let's invite Brother Fastnickle. Brother Fastnickle, welcome back. How's it going?
Good. Shalom. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be on your show.
So, Brother Fastnickle, now, we got a lot of changes going on in the world, and it's timely. And how do you think all of this fits with crypto adoption, CBDCs, and stablecoins? And also let the family know the difference between CBDCs and stablecoins, and if there is a difference.
So CBDC stands for central bank digital currencies, and stablecoins are there are currently stable coins out there like USDC and USDT. Basically, this is the mechanism that going forward, stable coins have been in existence for a few years. It's not really talked about, but it's a huge revenue generator in the banking system. And going forward, it's just going to be a part of life for a couple of reasons, which I'll go into the presentation, but also because of control and basically monitoring everything we do. And when we talk about prophecy and the book of Revelation talking about you won't be able to buy or sell, I mean, it's becoming more and more evident that that's what they're putting in place.
All right. So what do you have you want to present, Brother Fastnickle?
Okay. So what I would like to do, let me present, share screen. Okay. Okay. Let me see. Okay, that's better. Okay. So what I'm going to be talking about here today is stablecoins, staking / mining, AI, and why you must have a plan. 3 must-have token and what's on my radar. My website, Learn Crypto 101, and if anyone wants, we can have also a group discussion or continue with some Q&As. Now, up at the top in yellow, it says, Iran prepares for brutal retaliation after Israel attack. Well, there's this channel that I watch almost daily, and today they brought up some very interesting points that we should know for crypto and how it relates to what is literally going on with the events in Israel and Iran. And I wanted to share that with everybody because it's going to help you understand if and when the markets drop, why they will drop. So it's about an extra 20 minutes that I didn't necessarily incorporate into the presentation, but I really feel that it's important. So let me present. I think it's in the background. Do you?
Oh, okay. You took it down. All
okay.
Right. Hold on.
Let me.
Wait, hold on.
Okay.
I don't know what. Okay, there we go. It wasn't showing up for some reason. Okay, there it is.
Okay, I'm gonna put this full screen. Well, if you need to make it full screen, I will. But this is.
I mean, I have it full screen. If you want it full screen, you got to make it full on your own.
Yeah, I can make it full screen. So okay. I would tell everybody, pay attention when he talks about the charting, because everyone that has crypto, this is going to be important.
All right, so we had Israel attack Iran last night, and today the markets are moving like crazy. If you look at the markets today, you've got markets generally down. You've got Bitcoin giving back some of its gains, 104,830. The S&P slightly down. Altcoins absolutely getting annihilated. You can see it on the bubbles. The altcoins are getting annihilated. The truth is that over the next couple of days, you're going to get a lot of noise and a lot of news headlines about what's happening in the Middle East. And it's going to be very hard to decipher what's real and what's just noise. I'm going to show you today, I'm going to show you one indicator, one chart that tells you exactly what's going on in the Middle East. It'll tell you not only how bad things are in the Middle East, but also when this thing is actually going to end. I'm also going to show you some previous attacks and how long they've lasted and how they've affected markets, because if you understand how markets have performed previously, then you can understand what moves to make in the market, and I'll show you exactly what moves I'm making in the market. So if that sounds good to you, and as P says, it is a crazy world out there. It's a Friday show. We don't normally do these kind of Friday shows. Usually on Fridays we do the banters, but today, because of the attacks, I thought we'd come live and we'd bring you guys crypto love and crypto wisdom. So let's do this, guys. Let's get into it.
Most traders fail because they trade manually. In 2025, you should no longer be trading manually.
That's footage from a ballistic missile base in Iran, and it's on fire and it was exploding earlier today. And there are many, many, many more scenes like that because, as you know, Israel invaded Iran last night in a very targeted attack. It wasn't a widespread attack, and so specifically, it wasn't around civilians. It seems to have been a very, very, very targeted attack. The attack was around nuclear facilities and Iran's leaders and nuclear leaders and stuff like that. And today, as I said, the markets are responding like crazy. You've got specifically crypto. You've got the altcoins down. You've got Bitcoin down. You've got the VIX up, volatility index up. And we're going to dive into all of those and decide exactly what this means. Is it time to actually go risk off, or is it time to actually go more risk on? That's where we're going to finish the show today. So at the end, we'll make a decision as to whether we should be going risk on or risk off in this market. So listen, if that sounds good to you, you know what you need to do. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, you know what to do. Just subscribe to the channel, help us get distribution of this content, or nothing for distribution of these shows. And we work really hard to bring these shows to you. I mean, here I am on a Friday bringing you another long show with full of alpha. So let's get into the show. I'm counting on you guys to obliterate the like button. I'm going to just go into the alpha immediately. So where are we? We've had a very, very, very targeted attack of strikes on Tehran, and specifically Israel invaded nuclear targets. You can see in this video footage over here, and there's a whole lot of other video footage which I'm going to show you today. This is the Israeli strikes specifically in nuclear targets in Tehran, and there's a lot of these going around the internet. You'll see a ton of these going around the internet. The interesting thing is that Israel actually waited until exactly 2 minutes after the market closed before they actually launched these attacks. So you could see they did it with extreme precision. They waited for markets to close before they actually instigated these attacks. And you can see that sent the volatility index spiking up there. You can see some more strikes and more attacks over here, specifically on a specific nuclear base. Those are images taken in Iran. You can see here that the strikes were, for all intents and purposes, very, very, very precision strikes. They were going after nuclear targets. They were also going after Iran's commanders and chiefs, their rulers, their top Iranian leaders. And you can see that they actually removed or eliminated some of the top leaders. I'm not even going to try and pronounce all these names. Ali Akbar Ahmadin, he was the Secretary General of Iran's Supreme National Security Council. Ismail Khani, head of the Quds Force. General Hussein Salami, Iran's Revolutionary Guards commander. And you can see that many of these very big targets for Israel and probably for the United States have been eliminated. This is an attack that took place last night from exactly when the markets closed. And as you can see, they eliminated here. They say 3 of Iran's most powerful men killed as Israel targets top nuclear leadership. So they really were going after nuclear leadership. These were coming out in Telegram groups. The commander of Iran's IRGC Aerospace is now also reported to have been eliminated. And so you can see Israel went with extreme precision. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, he summarized why Israel entered into this. And this is quite important because we're going to talk a little bit about this. Let's listen to what his reasons
Israel
were.
launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat. For decades, the tyrants of Tehran have brazenly, openly called for Israel's destruction. They've backed up their genocidal rhetoric with a program to develop nuclear weapons. In recent years, Iran has produced enough highly enriched uranium for 9 atom bombs. 9. In recent months, Iran has taken steps that it has never taken before, steps to weaponize this enriched uranium. And if not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year.
So according to Israel, these strikes happened to reduce Iran's nuclear capabilities, which Iran had actually been accelerating. Now, you'll remember, if you've been following Netanyahu or Netanyahu's history, you'll remember that he's been calling for the removal of Iran's nuclear capabilities for very, very, very long. In fact, from 1992, he's been calling away from this to happen. And so for Netanyahu, this is quite a big thing. This is something that he's, I think, wanted to do for a long period of time. I guess with the previous Biden administration, he never had the support of the Biden administration to actually execute this. And now that Trump's in power, he seems to have the confidence to actually execute it. We'll talk a little bit about that in a couple of seconds. Anyway, so that is the attack. Now, Iran obviously has vowed that they're going to retaliate. They're not just going to sit down and just take this on the chin. In fact, they've come out and said the Zionist entity, which is Israel, must expect severe punishment. The strong hand of the Islamic Republic's military force will not relent from it. The criminal entity has planned a bitter fate and a future of full torment for itself, basically threatening Israel. They also said that they would have the last word. Iran vows that for revenge and for Israeli strikes, saying it will write the end of the story. They're going to have the last word in the story. Also, just some more messages saying Iran's legitimate and powerful response will make Israel regret its foolish act. And that comes from Iran's president in a message to their nation. Lindsey Graham in the United States says, people wondering if Iran will attack the American military personnel or interests throughout the region because of Israel's attack on Iran. My answer is if they do, America should have an overwhelming response, destroying all of Iran's oil refineries and all of the oil structure, putting Ayatollah and his henchmen out of the oil business completely. So that's the attitude of Iran. Iran did respond. They sent about, I think it was 100. They sent, I think, about 100 drones towards Israel. Fortunately, none of the drones actually hit, and so far I think there have been very few or even no casualties as a result of this. So this is pretty much what's happening.
An important day is coming for every American with money in the markets, and it'll be here sooner than you think.
Now let's talk about markets, and let's talk about the one chart that you should be watching if you want to know exactly how bad this actually is, because there's really no way to know how bad this actually is from the news. Who do you believe? Where do you get your headlines from? Which Twitter accounts? Which news accounts? Is it more left-wing? Is it more right-wing? Is it more towards Iran? Is it more towards we know that the West controls most of the media. So the question is, how do you know what's actually happening in Iran? And the truth is, the only way to actually know that is to actually look at the markets, because the markets and the money are the real barometer of exactly what's going on in the markets. So let's actually look at what's happening in the markets. So let's take a look at the important things. The first chart that you should be looking at is the Brent crude oil chart. Now, what you'll notice about this chart is that oil spiked all the way to about $75 a barrel. And that was from about 2 days ago when it started at $66 a barrel. And what's interesting to note in this chart is that it actually touched a resistance line. It actually touched a very important trend line, and it retreated from this trend line. And just keep that in mind as we carry on going here. If you look at the VIX, this is the volatility index. The volatility index spiked to about 22 and is now back at 19.61, right? Then you got Bitcoin. Bitcoin was at about 110,000 3 days ago before these tensions started. Bitcoin now at 105,000. The lowest that Bitcoin went was about 102,895. In this market collapse, we had about $1.1 billion in liquidations. And if I remember correctly, about 250,000 traders were liquidated. So mainly long liquidations got destroyed. In this, I think the big liquidations were the altcoins. You can see the altcoins absolutely got obliterated. And I know it may be a little bit too soon, but I actually tweeted this on Twitter. I said last night, Israel launched a targeted attack on my crypto again. The attacks were executed with extreme precision and targeted my altcoins in particular. They eliminated all my gains on Sol, Sui, and various other DeFi plays. So the sector that was the most hit in this attack was actually the altcoins, and we'll talk about that in a sec. So what is the chart that you should be looking at to block out all the noise and tell you everything that you need to know about this Iran-Israel war and the escalation? Because there's going to be a lot of news headlines. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming out of various media outlets. And ultimately, it's going to be very difficult to determine what's noise and what's real. And the only way to actually do that is to actually look, in my opinion, specifically at one chart. And that chart, as Chris says, is to look at the oil chart, right? Because let me first explain to you why the oil chart is such a big indicator about this. So, of course, Iran is one of the world's biggest oil manufacturers, but it's not actually about Iranian oil, because the Iranian oil, there are sanctions on any country that buys oil from Iran. So what the US has done is the US has placed sanctions on anyone that buys oil from Iran. And so I was looking this up earlier, and it pretty much says that there's no ban on buying US oil. but there's sanctions. So there's no universal prohibition, but the United States State Department enforced strict sanctions aimed at Iran's petroleum industry. So it's not actually about Iran's petroleum industry. What this is all about is it's about a very small area of land called the Strait of Hormuz, and that's a little area it's a little area which is controlled or just outside of Iran. Now, that little piece of piece of water, that little canal, is basically responsible for the movement of about 20% of all the world's oil. Okay, so 20% of all the world's oil, whether it comes from Qatar, from Oman, from any of those other countries, flows through this thing called the Strait of Hormuz. The problem is that analysts believe that if this thing actually escalates, then Iran will basically block the Strait of Hormuz, and basically ships and oil won't be able to get through the Strait of Hormuz. And if that happens, then the price of oil could go up to as much as $130 a barrel. So JP Morgan says, look, if this thing actually escalates, they've done their calculations and they say, because of the Strait of Hormuz, because of this, the disruption of the oil industry on the Strait of Hormuz, effectively what they're saying is that the price of oil could spike, and could probably spike to as high as $130 per barrel. And so the truth is, if you want to know what's actually happening in the Middle East, and you want to know exactly what the real situation is over there, just look at the oil chart. And right now, the oil chart's telling you a big story. The story that the oil chart is telling you, and if you look at this trend line actually can go back. Oh, sorry, that's not the trend line. The trend line can actually go back all the way up to here. You can kind of take that trend. Oh, sorry, I'm improvising here a little bit. So you can take that trend line. You can actually draw that trend line all the way back to 2023. And what you can see is that the oil price spiked and was rejected exactly on that trend line. So it's quite uncanny. Like, you look at this and you say, the price bounced, it touched $76, which is exactly where that trend line is, and now it's retreated back to 73.50. My theory is a very simple theory, and this is really the only indicator that you need to be watching.
YouTube has just paid for my entire trip around Europe. It paid for this new car, and it even paid for this new house for my parents. And yeah, I don't work.
If oil spikes above this trend line, breaks above this trend line, and carries on above this trend line, you know things in the Middle East are actually really, really, really escalating. And if not, if it stays below the trend line, then you kind of know that the things in the Middle East are pretty much under control. That's the one thing you need to know. The second thing that you need to know is to say the following. If the oil price stays below this, what you can expect is you can expect a recovery and a continuation of the rally in all the other markets. If the oil price goes above this, then it's an indicator to the world that this thing has escalated, and that the stock markets and all other risk assets will actually go down. Now, when I say all other risk assets, I'm putting a little bit of a disclaimer here. If you look at what happened to gold, so you look at gold, and yesterday, when these attacks actually happened, the one thing that happened was that the gold price actually spiked, right? And so the question is now, where will the world put Bitcoin? Will Bitcoin be compared to gold? Will it be a safe haven? Or will it be treated like a risk asset? In the early days of this, as you can see, the gold actually went up and Bitcoin actually went down. But Bitcoin didn't go down very much. Relative to what's actually happened, Bitcoin actually didn't go down very much. And so right now, I think all eyes are on one chart. And we're looking at the oil chart. And let's call this the resistance line here. Let's call this little resistance line over here. Let's call this the war line and the escalation line. And if we go above this and oil starts trading above this, it means that oil traders and the world is pricing oil above in the war zone. And if it stays below this, and let's just say that oil is now in the safe zone. And so really for us to block all the noise and all the media FUD and everything that we're going to hear in the next couple of days, really let's just focus on one chart. Let's focus on the oil chart. And the oil chart literally gave us an amazing support resistance line, a trend line that we can look at to tell us exactly what's going. And if we break above it, well, then the stock markets are going to go down. As you can see, since we've been coming below it, Bitcoin and stock markets have actually started to recover. So let's keep an eye on the charts, and I think that'll tell us everything that we need to know about the reality of the situation. When it comes to the US's involvement here, so this is quite an interesting turn of events. So you will remember that Trump actually warned that something may be happening in the Middle East, and I don't know. I would say that they're gonna.
I'm gonna skip that part.
Tell us that this is the beginning of World War III, and it's going to escalate, and markets are going to crash, and be very, very careful, and blah 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 blah. Guys, I want to just give you some perspective. This is what all the previous wars looked like. This is a chart of the S&P, the US markets, and this is really every single other war. And you can see that generally when we have wars, there's a certain pattern that actually plays out. And I want to talk to you about that certain pattern. Generally, when these wars start, you get a few days of the markets actually going down, because when the attacks happen, when the first strike actually happens, what happens is the market starts to price in the worst. And then what usually happens is the market rationalizes the situation. So you have an attack. The perception when the attack happens is, oh my goodness, we're going into World War III. The whole world's about to collapse. And then what slowly happens is the market goes from the extreme panic back to some kind of reality of saying, oh, this is isolated to a region. Oh, the US isn't really getting involved. Oh, this can't last very long. Oh, the Iranian leadership has already been destroyed. Right? And so what you basically get is you get the first move is usually the most aggressive move. Now, the question is, how long does this actually last? So how long does this first move usually actually last, right? So if you look at how long this actually lasts, generally, if you look at like other invasions, example, when Russia invaded Ukraine, you can see that within about 2 weeks to 12 days, oil moved up 38%, and that was the end of the move. So that move was about 12 days. Then you look at the October 7th attacks on Israel, and here, for like 3 days, oil went up by about 5%, and that's pretty much where it stopped. And if you look at all these times in history, what you realize is that these things actually don't last very long. Usually it takes about 7 days for the markets to bottom in these cases. So usually about 7 days after the first attack, the markets bottom, and then the markets realize that they've gone too long, and then the markets actually start to recover, right? So you can see the same thing when you look at Bitcoin. So you look at Bitcoin when there were rumors of the Russian invasion against Ukraine. It went down from the 17th to 24th, about a week, and then it started to recover. And if you look at other scenarios, when Hamas attacked Israel, October 7th, the markets went down, Bitcoin went down for about 5 days, and then the market started to recover, right? Or 7 days, the market started to recover. Iran launched the missiles, the 200 missiles on Israel, market drops by 9%, and market recovered pretty much almost immediately, right? So what you can see is that when the attack actually happens, that is when the markets start to go down. Usually, and I say usually because there's going to be exceptions, and maybe if one day we do get into a World War III type scenario, then maybe the markets will continue to go down for long periods of time. But otherwise, the markets really have a pattern, and the pattern is a very simple pattern. Markets respond quickest on the attack, then over time they start to rationalize the attack. They start to find all the good points. Oh, there's going to be negotiations. Oh, there's going to be this. Oh, there's going to be that. And
okay, I'm not going to play the rest of it. I'm providing the link, but basically you can see that there's a 7-day window. So if there's some coins that you've been wanting to buy based on what the charts are showing, now is the time to buy them, because within the next 7 days, they're all going to go back up. So obviously, if you want to buy, you buy on the dip. Okay, so let me go back to the presentation. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna play a short 5-minute video that's gonna pretty much explain stablecoins and give you a good foundation of what is going on. Brother Yacoba, would you share this next screen? Thank you.
A restaurant, or even a car dealership. No cash, no cards, just sending stablecoins. Sounds futuristic? Well, that future is here, thanks to new stablecoin legislation.
And then I would say a third area that's very interesting is stablecoins. And this is an area that has already taken off, but mostly offshore. We want to bring that innovation onshore. We want to enable legislation to allow the issuance of stablecoins in the United States. And I think the power of stablecoins is that it could extend the dollar's dominance internationally, extend it online, digitally, and create potentially trillions of dollars of new demand for our U.S. treasuries, which could help support our debt and bring down long-term interest rates. So I think these are all three very exciting areas of digital asset technology.
Okay.
That was David Sachs.
So I just wanted to show you this. So three things that he said that to pay attention to. He mentioned about creating demand for U.S. treasuries, supporting of the U.S. debt, and bringing down interest rates. So keep those three things in mind.
That was David Sachs, former PayPal executive, VC, and now President Trump's appointed cryptocurrency czar.
Okay, now also you heard them say he's a PayPal guy. So him, Peter Thiel, and Elon Musk all were part of PayPal. That's important to know.
Leading efforts to bring stablecoin innovation onshore. At the center of this push is the Genius Act, a proposed law to regulate stablecoins. It would require issuers to be licensed, fully backed by reserves, and overseen by regulators, making stablecoins safer and more widely accepted. The bill, backed by Senators Scott, Hagerty, and Lummis, is gaining bipartisan support, and with momentum building, it's likely to become the first piece of crypto legislation to pass.
Senator, I'd like to talk about something else you're looking to get done in the Senate, and that's new stablecoin legislation you've introduced alongside Senators Lummis and Gillibrand, calling it the Genius Act. And I do wonder about the timeline here. Is it your intent that this legislation be pushed through before broader market structure legislation, for example, that may work its way through both the banking and ag-oriented committees in both chambers?
Sure. And Kayleigh, I'll add Senator Tim Scott, the chair of the Banking Committee, is on this legislation with us. So we're very excited about it. This is the first step, and we're going to do this first before we get to broader market structure. But it's going to enable us to take a very positive step in the direction of ensuring that the United States is a positive environment for cryptocurrency technology. Stablecoins is one of these issues that I think the United States can be a leader on. It's time for us to do so. Look, there's roughly $28 trillion worth of stablecoin transactions taking place right now across the world. We need to be a leader here in America. This legislation allows us to do that. And I'm extraordinarily optimistic that we're taking that lead. It's going to open the door for many other positive things in the industry. And I'm so excited to have my colleagues on both sides of the aisle join me here. This is going to be an important first step to opening up the market here in America.
So what exactly does the Genius Act do? It defines a payment stablecoin as a digital asset used for payments or settlements, pegged one-to-one to a fixed monetary value, like the US dollar. To ensure stability, issuers must fully back their stablecoins with high-quality reserves, including US currency, treasury bills, and repurchase agreements. It wouldn't make stablecoins legal tender, meaning businesses wouldn't be forced to accept them, but it would finally provide clear rules to make them safer and more widely accepted. And this is exactly why Jeremy Allaire, CEO of Circle, the company behind USDC, has been pushing for regulatory clarity.
I'll start with stablecoins, which is there is not yet a federal law that defines dollar stablecoins as legal electronic money in the U.S. financial system. Once we have that, then every company in the world, every public corporation, every financial institution all around the world will be able to treat this as digital cash, use it as collateral, use it to settle transactions. Its ability to be used on a mass scale in society grows dramatically.
Once the Genius Act is passed, stablecoins won't be legal tender, but they'll be recognized as a regular form of payment, just like credit cards, debit cards, or Venmo. That means businesses won't be forced to accept them, but if both parties agree, stablecoins can be used just like any other digital payment method. The Genius Act isn't just about payments, it strengthens the US dollar's global dominance.
We have to focus on the strengths and competitiveness of the dollar first. So, like, we have a situation in the world where, while the dollar is the reserve currency, there are lots of places in the world that don't want the dollar to be that currency. And so first we need full reserve digital dollars, right, like stablecoins, to become a mass export product of the United States. And if there's going to be a major currency of the internet, make sure it's a digital dollar. That's one.
With many pushing for alternatives to the dollar, stablecoins keep digital transactions tied to USD, ensuring it remains the world's most used currency. The final part of the Genius Act lays out exactly who can issue stablecoins. Banks, federally regulated non-banks, like PayPal, and state-approved issuers can apply for a license. Large issuers like those with $10 billion or more must follow federal rules, while smaller ones can operate under state laws if they meet federal standards. This ensures stablecoins are well regulated, balancing safety, innovation, and competition. Stablecoins are the clearest part of the crypto industry and the easiest to regulate, which is why they're the first priority before tackling broader crypto market structure.
There's one other bill that I think is going to move pretty quickly here too. So I just mentioned the market structure bill. The other area is stablecoins, and Senator Haggerty, he's on the banking committee. He just released a stablecoin bill. There's counterparts in the House. And what the four chairmen indicated is actually they're going to take up stablecoins first, and then market structure will follow very quickly. So I think we could see a stablecoin bill pass Congress in the next several months.
This new act may not have you buying a car with USDC just yet, but it's a major step toward bringing crypto into the mainstream financial system, without crushing innovation.
I got so many windows. I apologize for that. So, to ensure stability in stablecoin, what must be done? They want to back it with high quality reserves, U.S. currency, and treasury bills. Now, what a lot of people don't realize, what is a treasury bill? It's actually debt. The U.S. debt is tied to treasury bills, among other types of treasury securities. Now, before I continue, let me also just say this is not financial advice. This is for educational purposes only. Treasury bills, T-bills, are short-term debt instruments issued by the U.S. government to finance its operations and pay off existing debt. They are considered one of the safest investments because they are backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government. When you hear about the national debt or U.S. debt, it includes various types of treasury securities like T-bills, treasury notes, and treasury bonds, which together make up a significant portion of the debt owed by the government to investors, both domestically and internationally. These securities are crucial for funding government activities and managing the national debt. So when you look at the debt, America has 32.9 trillion in debt. China, the second place, is half that, and Japan at 10 trillion, and so on. The whole reason why they are so gung-ho on stable coins is because we've gotten to a point that no one wants to see the Fed continue to create this debt, and especially because for the first time in 100 years, no one actually wanted to buy our debt. So through stable coins, all they're doing is a magic act of having you look at the left hand while they finagle stuff with the right hand. So they're just swapping all of this debt into stable coins to basically push the can down the road. So I wanted to show you, so there's this article by Fortune, and there's an MSN article which basically talk about stable coins. So this video here is more about
Next step going forward will be the tokenization of financial assets. We believe the next step going forward will be the tokenization of financial assets. And that means every stock, every bond will have its own, basically, CUSIP. It'll be on one general ledger. Every investor, you and I, will have our own number, our own identification. We could rid ourselves of all issues around illicit activities about bonds and stocks and digital by having a tokenization. But the most importantly thing, we could customize strategies through tokenization that fits every individual. We would have instantaneous settlement. Think about all the costs of settling bonds and stock. But if you had a tokenization, everything would be immediate because it's just a line item. And so we believe this is a technological transformation for financial assets. If you want to talk about voting and voting choice and all the things, if we know every moment who is the owner of that stock and it's now time to vote, every individual who has ownership is identified and they can vote their own.
So I'm going to, okay. Okay, so Brother Yacoba, do you have a question before I talk about this question that one of my students asked about how to make money with stable coins and with your crypto?
Well, my question would have to deal with the whole idea of, like for instance, we got the different ideas globally with Bitcoins, because Bitcoin is a distributed network, right? Which it can't be locked down. But then we have the stable coins, which apparently we see Walmart and Amazon are talking about issuing their own stable coins. Now, for them to issue their own stable coins, they can do that because they have assets. Right now, for us, Black folks, Israelites, whatever, most of us don't have assets. But yet, how do we navigate this thing where we have stable coins, which is programmable, which people are going to say, okay, I'm going to accept your stable coins because I know if I trade in, let's say, a Walmart coin for a Amazon coin, I could get me a radio, right, or whatever. Because right now, the only thing I see is an underground market creating our own stable coin, which would allow us to trade amongst ourselves. But I just don't see that happening. I mean, you can just look at how many people in this room right now who's interested in crypto, right? And so what are your thoughts in terms of how to navigate this thing? Because from what I'm seeing, and give me your opinion, this is going to happen overnight, especially with this war. It's going to flip, right? When the oil shortages happen and, the economy start crashing, they're going to flip right away into stable coins, right? And people ain't going to know what to do. So what's your thoughts on that?
So, and again, this is just my opinion. I don't have all the answers, but I believe that sometime by July, they will have regulation, because regulations is the key that everyone is waiting for. But when we talk about regulations, now there's something called MiCA, MiCA, which deals with Europe. And that's a whole different sort of regulations. Now, I don't want to get too long with this, but I have a lot of information regarding this, to the point where it comes down to the ISO 20022 coins. Those coins, there's a lot of them that are less than $1, and XRP is 2 and change. But because they already are regulated, there's a lot of these coins that are not regulated that either are going to go away or they're going to join forces with the coins that are regulated so that those coins can be regulated under like an XRP or under an XLM, etc. That's why what you're seeing now, when you watch these videos, so many of these corporations are joining forces. And the other thing that you're now starting to see, and I have an article where for the first time a NASDAQ company is buying a crypto company. So what you're now starting to see is traditional finance merging with crypto.
I get that, but I guess once again, I see the trap closing in. How do we avoid that? Because they're emphasizing stablecoins, which might as well be CBDCs, right? And so it's controlled and centralized. My whole thought is that, the altcoins would be the means of getting a quick dollar or quick value and getting the heck out of Dodge and buying some land in Africa. Do you think that's still possible?
Yes. Okay. So a video that I have linked at the end of this presentation goes a lot into detail into that question. And based on what I'm hearing regarding these coins. So a lot of people on this call are familiar with Uphold. They're familiar with Coinbase. They're an exchange. They're a centralized exchange, but we have a lot of decentralized exchanges or decentralized wallets that the government doesn't necessarily know what you're doing, because at the end of the day, they want to make sure they're getting paid. They want to make sure they're getting their tax money. So what they are going to do in time are they're going to blacklist these decentralized wallets so that only.
So you mean like Monero? You mean like Monero and Darrow, right?
Yes. So Monero is they have decentralized coins that they have never liked because they can't control. But that's what they're going to do. If you're using a wallet that kind of hides your IP, etc., they're going to blacklist you.
Yeah.
And so from what I was listening to earlier today, basically we have a 2-year window or less. And so what they were saying is right now, and again, this is, at the end of the day, everybody has to make their own decisions. But based on what this person was saying is you want to take your fiat money, use that to buy crypto, because when you look at all the asset classes, that's the one that's going to make you the money the fastest. You take that money that you generated with crypto and buy your assets, buy your land, buy your house, buy whatever it is you want to buy, because in a 2-year window, they are going to manipulate everything to where it doesn't matter how much crypto you have on your cold wallets. They are not going to allow you. They're going to blacklist it to where you can't you might have $100, $100,000 on a decentralized exchange or a cold wallet, and they will put parameters in place to where you can't offboard it, to where you can't buy or sell. So we're seeing that they're putting the things in place to where the Bible talks about we can't buy or sell. So in my opinion, we have a 2-year window or less to get whatever it is, whatever your plan is, wherever you're going, whatever you want to do, you have a 2-year window or less to get it done. That's my opinion.
So when do you think, XRP and all these other altcoins and stuff are going to take off? Because if we have a 2-year window, that means it's going to have to be soon for us to take any profits and, get out of here.
So based on everything I'm seeing with XRP and Quant, I mean, you're going to start to see it go maybe as high as $25 by the end of the year, a coin like XRP, but this is all new territory. So everybody is really kind of figuring it out as we go. And with that being said, you really have to just plan on how much you think you're going to need to buy whatever it is you're going to need to buy to get out of here, if that's your plans.
I don't think anybody has any other alternative unless they want to stay under this B system and can't, buy, trade, or sell unless you have the marker's name or number of his name. So, but most people don't have a plan. And, one thing I see, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't see the Israelites getting together and joining and doing stuff together because we have too many agents, right? They're going to accuse you of theft and all these kind of things. And, how do we circumvent this? And I know people are going to say faith and all this stuff, but I believe in practical faith. I believe in walking in the knowledge that we have in the word. That's what I believe, that we act on what we know that the Most High told us, not this like I'm waiting for an angel to come down and do some miracles for me. I mean, it could happen, but Abraham had to leave, right? I mean, he had to walk out,
right.
Moses and them had to leave. They had to fight, right? They had to take their stuff. So I think we got to be a little more aggressive in coming together. But, the agent provocateur that's within the camps is very different, makes that difficult. So
I agree with you. And I also think that with organizations like Quest to Unite Africa, as an example. So over the last year, a lot of people that are listening to your show right now, they have made alliances with other members. And I think it's going to be important. We talk about community. It's going to be very important that you build alliances with people that you truly can trust, because as we are finding out, you think you can trust somebody, but then when money gets involved, you see a whole different side of that person. So you really have to be careful of who you make your alliances with, but you really do need to make, in my opinion, you need alliances because you really can't do this all by yourself.
I agree. So Brother Fastnickle, did you want me to put the link out for people to ask questions now, or?
Sure. If they want to ask some questions before I address this question about how to make money with your crypto.
Okay, I'll let you do that. Let me know when you want me to put the link out.
Okay, so I'll do this and then we can put the link out. So one of my students asked, what's a strategy for establishing your own retirement funds through dividend tokens and staking? Could you give us some tips on living off dividends while ensuring your investment continue to grow? I thought this was a really good question, so I delved into it. So the first part of that answer is to do research and select reliable tokens. Begin by researching tokens that offer dividends or rewards through staking. Look for projects with a strong track record, clear governance, and reliable dividend distributions. I'm going to pass this video, but I've got the link to it. So for those who use Coinbase, these are the current tokens on Coinbase that you can stake, and they have different APYs that they will give you. Now, with people that are in traditional stock market, they're happy with 5% APY, but usually people in crypto want more than that. So if you go to Coinbase and then go to coinbase.com/staking, you'll see all the different coins that you can either purchase or bring onto their platform that you already own in a different wallet that you can stake. And again, each token, the staking rewards are different. They're not all the same. Now, if you go on to Uphold, these are some of the coins that you can stake with Uphold. Now, the reason I bring up Uphold and Coinbase is because they at least are safer in terms of they will insure your tokens in case their system gets hacked. They will return your crypto to you. Whereas if you have it on your own wallet and it gets taken, you're out of luck. So that's why some people may decide to use Uphold to stake. And again, all of these coins will give you different APYs. Now, one thing, I was talking to a director person where I work, and we were talking about MicroStrategy. So anybody who knows Michael Saylor, he has a ton of Bitcoin, and his company is called MicroStrategies. So MicroStrategies is a company that you can actually, through an ETF, you can buy his stock, and they will give you dividends. So with stablecoins, this is the future of where everybody is going to basically take that and get dividends. So what you want to try to do is get enough crypto to where the dividends that you can make enough that will sustain you monthly. So if you go to Uphold English-US/staking, you'll see here that they have some coins that you can earn up to 16, almost 17% staking. So now on Uphold, in their USD interest account, Uphold provides a USD interest account that allows you to earn interest on your USD balances. So just by holding your USD stablecoin there, they'll give you 4.5% if you hold $1,000. Balances under $1,000, they give you 2%. So, I mean, to be honest with you, it's better than nothing, but it's not a whole lot. So you have to hold, if you hold $1 million in a USD stablecoin, they'll basically give you $45,000 a year on that money, which is better than nothing. But if you just hold $1 million there, that money will never go up. It won't go down, but you'll make $45,000 a year. Now, they are now allowing you to hold RLUSD, which is the XRP stablecoin. For that one, they'll give you 5%. So if you hold $1 million in RLUSD on Uphold, they'll give you $50,000 a year just for holding it there. So it's basically, you hold it in your bank account, you're going to make $50,000 a year.
So you saying you can just hold it and not stake it and still get that percentage?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Now, the other way is miners. Brother Jacob, are you familiar with mining?
Yeah, with the machines that go in. Yeah, okay, yeah.
So this is just one example of a mining device. So for instance, I was looking at, I got two coworkers that they own a couple of miners that produce Dogecoin. I worked with some guys that had Bitcoin miners. So for instance, there was a Dogecoin miner that I was looking at. They wanted $3,200 for the miner. So it's called a miner, but really it's kind of like a hard drive or a little computer. So that $3,200 that you spend will roughly generate about $1,800 worth of crypto. So what they were saying is, if you were to buy a miner, it would take about 2 years to pay itself off, but then that it would generate about $1,800, $2,000 a year in crypto for you. Now, the only downside could be the electrical cost, but especially for those who might decide to go to the continent, if you set up your electricity through solar, then you've got it made. You don't have to worry about any electric costs. So this is just another example.
But on the continent, do they charge you for how much bandwidth you use?
No, because the only cost is electric. But if you have solar, you're not paying for electric.
Yeah, but I mean, like for instance, let's remember in the past, let's give me I'm gonna get the example of the cell phones, right? You have a limit on your usage for the internet, right? And I think some of these African countries are that way too with their internet, right? That you have a limit, and so you got to pay extra if you go over that limit. Is that not the case?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I don't know. Back at the early days of the internet, that was more of an issue than it is now. But I know what you're talking about. It's like when you stream, the minute you go to streaming, you're using more bandwidth. So it's a more of a cost. I get it.
Yeah, the data limit, says somebody said. Yeah.
Exactly. That's a good question. I don't know that answer over there on the continent. And then when we talk about the continent, we're talking about 50 plus countries, and every country has
different. Yeah, that's true.
So the other thing is diversification. You want to, and I can't stress this enough. You want to spread your investments across multiple tokens to reduce risk. Diversification helps mitigate the impact of any single token performance on your overall portfolio. Then you also want to look at the long-term perspective. So approach dividend tokens and staking with a long-term perspective. These strategies often build better results over extended periods due to compounding returns and token appreciation. Now, to some degree, and I'm going to talk about one token, but to some degree, we're all looking for that grand slam. But in truth, that's not always realistic. You want to have a long-term approach, but some of us are in our 50s, 60s, or even 70s, and so we don't necessarily have a long-term approach.
For real.
Now, for a lot of people on this call, I told them to buy Zebek back around the end of March. And those that were in my classes that didn't, we all saw 400% gains. We made a ton off of buying Zebek. And Zebek is still less than a penny. I'm not here telling anybody what to do, but I've done my homework on Zebek, and this is a coin, in my opinion, you want to get some of this, especially since it's less than a penny still. Now, with Zebek, they offer staking. So I actually did it. So I staked about 350,000 of my coins for a month. They gave me 8% APY for the month. If I would have did it for 3 months, they would have gave me 12%. If I did it for 4 months, they would have given me 15%. But these are ways to get bigger APYs on your money just by staking. Now, the downside here is when you stake it for a month, 3 months, or 4 months, it's locked up and you can't touch it until it's unstaked. That's the downside. But at the end of that period, you're going to get those gains back into your wallet. You want to do your due diligence. You want to conduct thorough due diligence before investing. So as an example, I had somebody from the UK reach out to me. He said, "Brother Fastnickle, I invested my money in this coin and I can't get it out. What do I do?" So I looked at what he did and I said, "Man, you invested in a coin that has no liquidity." So unfortunately, he invested in basically a pump and dump coin, for those who are familiar with that term. So there was no liquidity for him to get his money out. So just because a coin looks like a good deal, you have to check to make sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted before you get into it.
So when you say that coin didn't have any liquidity, what do you mean?
So there was no liquidity in the system to pay you.
Okay. So people jumped in like with the Trump coin and jump out, and
Correct.
so there's no value in it.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
So when I had my classes, I was showing my class the things to look for when you're going to invest in high risk, high reward coins. So you also want to understand the risks involved, such as market volatility, smart contract risk, regulatory changes, allocate funds wisely, and consider setting stop loss orders to protect your investments. Now, some that have been in my class or in my weekly Q&As, I have shown them what stop loss orders are. So for those who don't know what a stop loss order is, so for instance, if you're on the advanced section of Coinbase, you can set up a stop loss, meaning let's say you own XRP and XRP is at $2.20, but the market is crashing. You can set up a stop loss that you say, okay, if it drops down to $2.15, I want to sell. This way, you're selling as it's going down so that you don't take a total loss. Or you can set stop loss to where you buy in. So for instance, if you see that the market is going up and let's say a coin is at $2.20 and you say, okay, if it hits 230, I'm going to buy because I think if it hits 230, it's going to go as high as 250. So there you would set up a stop loss. And basically by setting up a stop loss, you don't have to sit there and watch it. It's basically making the transaction for you. Staking rewards optimization. So you want to optimize staking rewards by choosing platforms with competitive staking yields. Monitor platforms for changes in staking rewards and adjust your strategy accordingly. You also want a reinvest strategy, which is to consider reinvesting your dividends or staking rewards to compound your returns. This strategy can accelerate wealth over time. So that's one of the things that when you do compound your rewards, that also pushes off the tax penalty by doing that, because you technically haven't received those profits, because you're just as you collect it, you're reinvesting it, so you're not having to pay tax. Regular monitoring. You want to regularly monitor your investments and adjust your strategy based on market conditions and performance metrics. You want to stay informed about industry trends and token updates. The tax implications. Understand the tax implications of dividend income and staking rewards in your jurisdiction. You want to consult with a tax advisor to optimize your tax strategy and ensure compliance. You also need an exit strategy. You want to develop an exit strategy for each investment, determine price targets or performance metrics that trigger selling decisions to lock in profits or mitigate losses. By following these strategies, you can effectively build a retirement fund through dividend tokens and staking while managing risk and maximizing returns over the long term. Now, if there's any question, or if you have any question, I can show you some examples of some of the places that you can go to earn dividends. Now, the three tokens. Now, Brother Yacob, you know that from the very first time you invited me on your show, I've always told you XRP is the one that's going to make me a millionaire. Now, the three coins that I say you want to hold are Bitcoin. And here's why I say Bitcoin. Even though I don't have a lot of Bitcoin, I've changed my stance on Bitcoin. And the reason is institutions are buying up the Bitcoin. And when they buy it, they remove it off of exchanges. So it's going to become harder and harder to get. And therefore, the prices that you hear, like within the next 5 years, Bitcoin being $1 million, it's definitely doable because the supply and demand, it's the accessibility to get it is getting harder and harder. The reason I say XRP is because when you look at all of the things that the European banks are doing, it all revolves around XRP. And now Quant, for those of you that are old enough, back in 1980, I was 13 or 14 years old, and I remember the very first, I don't know, Brother Jacob, if you remember this, but back in 1980 was the very first commercial by IBM introducing personal computers. And anybody who knows anything about the old personal computers, they ran on DOS. So you had to put your 5.25 floppy disk to basically boot it up, and you get this green screen with all of these numbers on the screen. Now, it wasn't until 1986 when Bill Gates came out with Windows, and that really changed the game. And anybody who bought Windows stock in 86, 87, they became millionaires. Well, I'm telling you, Quant is that same thing. Quant, so here, to keep it simple, everything is going to blockchain. All the new companies are building on blockchain, but we have all of these old companies that still rely on legacy systems. So what they are doing is, because Quant has built Overledger, basically Quant is going to do for those businesses the same thing Windows did. It's going to just run on top of it. So when I talk about how Quant is the railroad tracks and everything is built on top of it, Quant is going to be worth thousands of dollars because there's even fewer Quant than there is Bitcoin. So when you look at what Quant is doing, I would tell anybody you want to own at least one Quant token. If you don't do anything, it's like owning at least one Bitcoin. That's my advice I would tell anybody. Now, the two coins that I show at the bottom, one is called Curve, the other is called Tron. So Curve, let me share this with you so I can show you Curve. Let me see if I can do an entire screen. Okay. Okay. Brother Jacobo, would you share that for me, please? Okay. So now this is Curve. This is CoinMarketCap. This is Curve. Curve, let me refresh to see what the price is as we speak. So Curve is selling for 61 cents. The other coin is Tron. Now, Tron is selling for 28 cents. Now, I'm going to show you why I'm bringing these two coins up. So this is a tool that Curve uses. Basically, Curve is the platform that the stable coins will run on. So because of that, Curve is a good idea to buy some. Especially at the price of 61 cents, this might not be a bad coin to hold because it deals with stable coins. And as we go into the whole, everything going into stable coins, this token is going to be a good one to hold, in my opinion. Same goes for Tron. Now, the other two coins are related to AI. Now, I've talked about Google VO3. Now, what's interesting is when you look, these are all AI videos, but when you look at them, you couldn't even tell that they're AI. And this is 2025. Just think about where this is going to be in 3 years. And so if you believe this is the future, what you want is you want to buy coins that are in that AI sector. And so let's see. Yes. Okay. So here's an example. So a lot of people are familiar with NVIDIA. So how much does one H100 cost? The NVIDIA H100 GPU typically costs between $27,000 and $40,000 per unit. And this is what's necessary to build these AI videos. So what they're doing is, instead of having to spend that money on these units, they're getting it done through coins like this. Node AI. This is a GPU coin. Right now it's at 33 cents. This is the kind of coin that that deals in the market of AI technology. So this is another coin that you might want to get into. And when you look at what it does, let's see, where's the node AI? Here we go. So Node AI is powering demand for the next generation of AI. So this is, it's for NVIDIA. So, for a coin that's at 33 cents, if you know that AI is where we're going, these are the kind of coins you want to get because they're low right now. The other coin is Nasana. So this coin here is at 73 cents. This is another AI coin. So this coin is affordable GPU rental for AI inference. So again, where you want to start looking is in the AI sector. If you're looking to buy coins for what's happening in the next 2 to 5 years, these are the coins that you want to invest in. Now, I think it was back in late March, I told the people that follow me, you may want to get into syrup. At the time, syrup was at 14 cents. I think right now it's at 43 cents. But syrup is where you can stake. They're giving, this one is 2.9% API. But what's happening is all these platforms are coming up with staking mechanisms for you to get APY for your money. So with these coins that you're investing in, that's where we're going. There's going to be plenty of platforms out here for you to invest in. Now, the other coin to think about is so these are the two. Let's see. Okay, so for those who like Solana, so two coins to think about that live on the Solana blockchain are Jito and Cloud. So Jito right now is at $2.10. What Jito does is it allows you to do staking. So right now they're giving 7.53% on your money. If you take your Solana and stake it into Jito, you'll get 7.53% on your money, and they'll let you know how much you'll get for your coins. You'll just have to come to the website, and they give you all the information there. Cloud is another one. Right now, Cloud is at 14 cents. So Cloud is another Solana-based coin that you can do your staking with. So all of these platforms, because of stable coins, everything is going to a model of how you can take your coins and have them work for you and make money through staking. So the only thing it comes down to is doing your homework to see which platforms will give you the best return on your money. Because as you can see, there's no set APY standard. Like some places will give you 3%, some places will give you 8%, some places might give you 12%. It's really up to you to just find, do your digging to see who's going to give you the best return for your staking. Now, Zebek right now, as I said, is still less than a penny. It's at 0.004. Zebek just came out with a national commercial. They are linked with XRP. They just did. So Mixi. This is a crypto gaming company. They're at 3 cents. There's a NASDAQ company that just bought them. So when you come here, this is Mixi's. This is their X channel. So when you go here, you'll see that here we go. So they have joined with Zebek. So Zebek is doing a lot of things. They're doing a lot of things in Europe. This is the article where this NASDAQ company. So this company is Net Capital. So when you go to Net Capital's website, you'll see that what's his name? I can't remember one of the persons behind it, but he's a person that he is behind Draper, Tim Draper, that's it. So Tim Draper is one of the heads behind this company, and they just bought Mixi. And so that's this company here. It's a bridge between blockchain and TradeFi. So anything that you see with the word TradFi or DeFi, this is all finance. So this is where you want to look to get into, because this is where everything is going. So when you can find coins, anything that's less than a penny, these are only going to go up in value, in my opinion. So Solidus AI Tech. So this is one of the other companies that partnered with Zebek to do some AI stuff. So I invested a little bit in them yesterday, just because I found out about them. This is their website. They are data center. So again, there's a lot of money out there to be made. The only thing you need to do is do your homework to find it. And so this is one of the reasons why a lot of people like my weekly Q&A classes, because I do the research that no one really either wants to do or has the time to do. And I just say, hey, this is a coin. And any coin that I reference, generally speaking, I have purchased it. So I don't tell someone to buy unless I'm willing to buy.
Okay. So you want me to put the link out?
Sure.
All right. If y'all have some questions, you could come on. There's the link. So
I don't know
wait
if I have
too
all
long.
the answers, but I'll try my best.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, answer what you can, but don't wait too long to click on, because you might miss your opportunity to ask the question.
And just for anybody to know, what I've done is I put this whole presentation as a PDF with all the links that I didn't have enough time. I didn't want to bore anybody with all this information, because I have a lot more that I didn't share, but I have it. And so what I've done is, if anybody wants to download it along with the links, I have placed it on my website to where you can pay $4.99 for it, and anyone who buys it, I'm going to give all the proceeds to Te'al Ministry. So if you buy it, it's helping you, and it's also a way of giving back to their ministry.
So I'm gonna give y'all 5 minutes. If you got questions, come on. Otherwise, we're gonna be shutting it down. So, Brother Fastnickle, based upon what we see happening with the Iran-Israel conflict, And we know that like during World War II, how we went into the new Bretton Woods Agreement.
Yes.
Do you expect to see that type of thing happening?
Yeah, that's the what's the name of that bill? Not this. Gosh, I was at the beginning of my presentation. The
what, the big beautiful bill? That I don't know what.
Yeah, that's the Trump bill, right?
The Trump bill.
Yeah. Well, the bill that they're about to roll out, I think probably in July. That's basically the new Bretton Woods, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because we're going to a whole new structure. I know a lot of people have a hard time believing this, but we're going to a whole new financial structure that really is going to lead into this whole you won't be able to buy or sell, and 2030 you won't own anything and be happy.
And it's very complex. You thought that the financial system was complex before. This got to be 10, 20, 100 times probably in terms of complexity. Clarence, welcome. What question you have for Fastnickle?
Quick question. First of all, can you send forth your contact information? And my second question would be, you mentioned Coinbase. I've been advised to take all of your crypto assets off of Coinbase because they actually control your assets. And so in order to control those keys, you need to move it from the exchange to a cold wallet. Is that something that we should be doing? What your thoughts was on that?
So yeah, so I do hold some stuff on Coinbase and Uphold because I, from time to time, keep it there to trade or just to convert it back into fiat. But the coins that I plan to keep long term, I either move it to a hot wallet or I move it to my cold wallet.
Okay. Cold wallet. Okay.
So I'm gonna comment on that as well. I just have my own opinion. I have some of mine on the cold wallet as well. But my philosophy is this, right? Just as you have Robinhood, right? And you got some of these other financial companies that you have stocks with, right? And ETFs, you trust them to a degree. And, yes, there's less regulations for exchanges, but, all of that's changing. And at the same time, like even with Robinhood, some people don't like it, and, to me, it's an investment too, like anything else. But the risk, like for instance, they say, what's the phrase? How it go? If you don't own your keys, not your token.
Not your keys, not your token.
Right.
Yeah. Now, to me, you could correct me if I'm wrong, Fastnickle, but I think that philosophy has changed with the idea of moving into stable coins and the fact that they can even lock your access to your own cold storage wallet, and you won't be able to trade it anyway. So I'm like, we saw it in the catch-22 no matter what.
Correct. Because of so this is another reason why I'm so pro quant. So quant has come out with something called Overledger. And one of the things that they're doing with Overledger is when you hear the CEO of BlackRock talking about tokenizing everything, what they also plan to do is provide you with a wallet that now it's got your stocks, it's got your finances, it's got your crypto. Everything will be on one wallet. You're not going to need a Fidelity wallet. You're not going to need your crypto wallet. Like, they're going to combine everything into one. And they are basically realize that that's the new sector of finance. They are, at first they wanted to ignore it, but they can't ignore it anymore. Now, I see that somebody asked in the chat about what's a good cold wallet. So I had done a presentation with my group just explaining to them the different type of cold wallets. Now, I've owned the Trezor 3. I own 2 of them. I've also owned the Ledger. I don't particularly like the Ledger. A lot of people like the Tangent wallet, which looks like a credit card. They all basically do the same thing. But what I will also tell you is diversify. So people with a lot of money don't keep all their money in one bank. They have it in different bank accounts. And the same goes for your crypto. As you start to acquire more and more crypto, you might need to have 3, 4, or 5 cold wallets to where you have it on different wallets, because God forbid something happens and you have $1 million all in one wallet and now it's gotten frozen, or you forgot your password or whatever, and now you can't access it. At least now, by spreading it out through multiple wallets, the risk tolerance is less.
So, Fastnickle, someone has a question. What's your take on those new crypto banks based in Dubai?
So I'm not familiar with the crypto banks in Dubai, but I do know that Dubai is now becoming big on crypto and stable coins. And now I don't know how true that. So there's a lot of coins that are going to go away because of, like I said, because of regulations and MiCA. So MiCA is MiCA, which is based out of Europe. They're even talking about Bitcoin and Ethereum not being MiCA compliant. So I know that for some of these coins that are not MiCA compliant, the way they will become MiCA compliant is joining forces with coins like Stellar and XRP, and that's already happening. A lot of these companies are joining forces with Stellar, and right now when you look at a coin like Stellar, it's like 28 cents. These coins are suppressed. So if you're into the ISO 202 coins, like I've talked about, those are coins that you can load up, and overnight, don't be surprised if once all of this goes into effect, because again, the European Central Bank says that they want to go live in October of this year. They have already mandated that they want the whole world to be compliant by November of this year, and July 14th of this year, so next month, the US banks are supposed to be compliant, because initially the date was back in March and they moved it up to July. So you won't see anything necessarily on the surface, but things are going to be going on in the back end.
Okay, so someone says, where can we download the presentation?
So if you go to my site, which is up on the screen, which is if you go to learncrypto101.info, what I've done is you can download it, and this presentation has a lot more than what I displayed here today, just because of time purposes. And again, anyone who purchases it for download, 100% of that money generated, I'm going to gift back to Teal Ministries. So it's one way for you to learn, and also to be a blessing to their ministry, because Brother Yaakov and his brother are always doing great things for us spiritually, for our spiritual nourishment. So it's a way to give back to them. And he didn't ask me to do this.
And here's another question. Would it be wise to convert lower performing coins into quant?
Yeah, so that's where I mentioned about sometimes you've got to look at your portfolio and restructure it. I've had to do that. I have coins that were tanking, and I cut my losses and say, you know what? I want quant. And again, I think everybody should at least have one quant. If you can get more, great, but at least have one.
Here's another question. You spoke of diversification in crypto. How much of your investment portfolio should be in crypto? I probably missed this point.
So if you listen to the traditional investors, they will tell you 10%. I mean, personally, all of mine is in crypto. I just and a big reason for it is because it's the only place that you can get big returns. You know, if you don't have a large window of time and time is not on your side, the traditional financial markets are not your friend because they only pay like 3-5% yearly on your investment. And most of us don't have a whole lot of money. So you have to invest in crypto. Now, is it a high risk? Yes. But there was let's see, I put it here. Where is it? Here. So you only have to be right once. So, and Mark Cuban said this. So if you invest in high risk and it doesn't work out, all it takes is one of them to work out for you to hit it big. So I guess don't be scared. You know, don't invest what you can't afford to lose.
So with the destabilization of the world economy through wars and all these other things, and possibly the closing off of the Strait of Hormuz, I would expect that the dollar will inflate.
Yeah,
right? We will have a huge inflation. Yeah.
Correct.
So it's going to take more dollars to buy a can of goods. What do you think is going to happen with? Yeah. What do you think going to happen with people who have crypto? I wouldn't expect it to be affected by the inflation. What do you think?
Gold, crypto, and assets are going to skyrocket in value.
Yeah, but most people don't look at crypto as an asset. But you know,
well, it's a as the gentleman stated, it's a high risk asset, but it's still an asset.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's a digital asset. But I think most people are not used to that concept, right?
True.
So, Brother Fastnickle, can you put the link in the chat for learning info? Sure. And if you have any final comments, let's do that, and we'll shut it down. Any final points? You there, Brother Fastnickle?
No, I'm here. No, I thought you were asking. No, I thought you were asking.
I'm asking you.
Oh, no. Everything is in the presentation, and you know the next few weeks are going to be interesting because this is a whole new asset class. This is a new financial system, so it's new for everybody. You really just have to pay attention.
Yeah, and you know, my whole thing is this, right? Instead of buying that little hamburger, right, you could buy a crypto asset, right? And instead of buying ice cream, you could buy a crypto asset. It's relatively cheap. And I think, you know, the whole idea of diversification is what you need in a time like this, because nobody really knows the right answer, right, of how to survive these times. But one thing we do know is that things are changing, right, on many levels, right? And if you want to be prepared, you have to make yourself ready for the change, right? You know how they say when the storm coming, you batten down the hatches. You got to figure out how to do that in this digital virtualized world. Now, one thing I see, and you know, you can give me your opinion on this, Fastnickle, just my opinion. The whole crypto, the whole new economic system, in my opinion, is pretty much a video game. And what I mean by that is when you're in the game, y'all played those games and you go on the hunt and you beat these monsters and you get some coins, and you can go to this little store over here in this section and you can redeem that for a sword, and then you can advance and you can go over to this store over here and you can get better, higher quality things. And guess what? You can even get rewards, right? You can get rewards. And that's what I see, right? This is a video game that they set up and they put us in it, and they're going to control this whole system, and they want to control us. They want to make us NPCs, right, within their video game, controlled by AI, just like a video game control the NPCs. That's what I see. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I said that I see us maybe a 2-year window tops, because their ultimate goal is to control us. And so like I said, we're seeing it play out to where you can't buy or sell. That's another word for controlling us. And they're going to get to a point where if you're not prepared, if you don't have discernment, you're going to fall into traps that you didn't even see in front of you.
And one thing I've been looking into, I'm not going to do a teaching on it, I'll just comment it here, is that I think it's possible, how, we have the image of the beast, right? That speaks. We know that's AI, that's a robot, right? But I was thinking, I'm not saying I'm right, but I'm thinking that the Antichrist could be a transhuman. You know how we always thought he was transhumanism. We always thought he was a Nephilim, but people gonna worship him as God, and he gonna come in and he gonna solve all these problems, right? Now he's gonna be jacked in like the Borg and have access to all that data in his brain and solve a whole bunch of problems, right? And people gonna think he's a godlike figure, and who knows what else he gonna do. And that's why he gonna sit in the temple of God, claiming to be God, showing himself that he is God, because he think he's godlike, right? And that's the whole thing we see with these people. The Revelation 2939 is that they want an AI God, but probably what they want more so is a transhumanist God, which is like what we saw with Yuval Lowry, right? That same Revelation 2939 person who's talking about we're not going to have free will and mankind going to be jacked in with the AI. And we're pretty much, in my opinion, we're almost there, and it's not good, not to cause fear and confusion or whatever, but I mean, if you got eyes to see, you can see it. So anything else, Brother Fastnickle?
Well, think about what you just said. These robots that you've been seeing, I mean, outside of the head, like they look like they're dressed in stormtrooper outfits. But yeah. I mean, just to think, I mean, within a year, 2 years tops, they will have flesh-like bodies that, I mean, you won't even, unless you, even up close, you might not even be able to tell if it's real or not. And this where, I know you're not a fan of WorldCoin because they want to do the scanning of your eyes, but maybe because, you can have a human and a robot next to each other and not know the difference, to where now we got to scan your eye to see which one of you is the real person.
That's true. And that's how they're going to promote the whole mark of the beast thing, because you've been a certified human.
Correct. Correct.
It's not good, y'all.
Here's the thing. When they do it, it's going to be so subtle.
Yeah. Yep. Like what happened with the lollipop, right? It was subtle, and everybody tried to warn y'all, but you ain't want to listen, and it's happening again.
So true.
But I'm just trusting the Most High gonna step in, because this thing, is I don't know what to tell you. It's amazing to me that people don't see what's happening. But hey, really you know how they say ignorance is bliss? It is, until you get caught in the trap.
Well, my 10-week course is the live course is over, but for July I'm going back to doing Q&A. So if anybody feels that this is a lot to take in and they still want help or just Q&As, you can sign up. You can just go to my website and sign up for the July Q&As, anyone who's interested.
Yeah, I definitely recommend Brother Fastnickle. He's very intelligent and very patient. And because guess what? He needs to give patience. You know why? Because you're gonna ask a lot of questions. I had a lot of questions, and I'm a techie, and Brother Fastnickle answered those questions. So if you want to learn about it, definitely hit him up and go to his site. All right, so I think that's it, Brother Fastnickle. Anything else? So we shut it
I
down.
just want to, as always, thank you for your time, your patience, and always thinking about me when it comes to crypto.
All right, thanks, Brother Fastnickle. Appreciate you coming on.
Shalom.
Bye. All right, fam. I know this is the techie type stuff, and a lot of people don't like all of that, but you have to understand that the world has changed and the world is changing. And as I even got into crypto, I realized let me say this, I realized how complex it is. And I'm techie, right? I'm a programmer. I work with this stuff. And this whole crypto thing is complex. And I guarantee you, your grandmother, your grandfather, they're not going to understand. When the money system shift, they're going to say, what happened to my money? They're going to say, crypto, what's a crypto? What's a stable coin, right? It's going to have everybody confused, right? So at least for you all, you can have a foundation. So when this shift happens, you can get your family, your mom, your dad, your grandparents on track on how to navigate, right? Because, as Brother Fastnickle and I always talk, and we mentioned this before, our goal is to capture that window. Our goal is to capture that little window before it becomes totalitarian. Right, to take that money, that crypto, whatever you want to call it, and get out of here and go to the continent and buy some assets, buy some land, buy some animals, secure your area, stuff like that. Because there's gonna be a short window, and if that window open, I'm stepping in it and I'm out, right? But I know a lot of people say, "Well, I'm waiting on the Most High," and I get it. However that plays out. But like I said, my philosophy is that the Most High gives you his word, right? And he gives you something that other people don't have, which is his word and revelatory knowledge. And using that knowledge to make biblical decisions, where to go, what to do, what's happening, right? At least we can see what's happening. We know this is the beast system. We know we are toward the end of this system where, well, let's say really the beginning of the 10 horn system, which is going to be run by the Antichrist and the whole crypto market of the beast system, AI. We're here, right? And if you think we have more time, I'm sorry. That's why they introduce AI so quickly. And that's why AI is evolving so fast. Right? Because in the end, AI is going to be the governors of this world, at least of the Gentile worlds, right? And, I'm moving based upon what I understand from the scriptures. And the only safe haven I see in the scriptures is the continent, right? Because we're supposed to go back. That's if you study it, right? If you study the word, you see that, because people say, where's the whole world? No, look at the statue of Daniel. It's the Gentile nations. The 10 toes is part of the Gentile system. And the Most High going to set up his own system, right? Which is the kingdom of the Israelites. But understand this, right? This war is between the Most High and Satan and the children of Satan against the children of the Most High. And so I'm going to be doing a teaching soon called Heroes, right? I'm going to do a teaching called Heroes. And basically, I'm going to talk about what the Most High has called Ezra Alawi to do, right? And it should be interesting because this dynamic, this war is between us, who are the descendants of slaves, who have always been last, who's going to become first. And their whole goal is to stop us from achieving that. Their whole goal is to suppress us and keep us enslaved, right? Because we are a threat to their hegemony, right? We are the only threat. Because look, everybody else is going along with them. Everybody else benefits from their system. Why? Because as I heard someone say, the difference between us and other minorities, they call them minorities, is that those other minorities say, at least I'm not black, right? That's what they say. At least I'm not black. Because even the untouchables in India, right? They can say, at least I'm not black. I'm not Negro. I'm not African-American. Why? Because they know they got to step above us. But if Africa comes together and unite, they know that we're going to be the head and not the tail. And guess what? According to the scriptures, they can't stop it. According to the scriptures, Ibrahim and them going to win. The African continent is going to come together. The two sticks are going to unite as one power block. And guess what? It gets even more interesting after that. And we're going to talk about some of that stuff prophetically, because this is a warfare, and you must be a soldier in the midst of this warfare, right? You can't be a passive player in this fight, right? Because you're going to be cannon fodder. You got to be active in this fight. So, you know, that's all I got, fam. Love y'all with the love of the Messiah. Peace and blessings, Israel. Your captivity is ending. If you want to support this ministry, you can by becoming a patron. You can also give Cash App, $TEOTW 7101, $TEOTW 7101. You can also go to tailministries.com, click on the donations tab. There's other options for giving. Also, please like, share, and subscribe. And, you know, let your family know what's going on. Because it's amazing to me that people still don't see it, but oh well, that's how it goes. Peace out. Well, family, the wait is over. The moment has arrived where truth emerges triumphant from the shadows of history. Introducing the true Jerusalem, the lost kingdoms of the Israelites, the groundbreaking work by me, Jacoby Vale, a journey into the past that reshapes the future. I cut through centuries of misconceptions with piercing clarity. This book delivers a compelling case packed with evidence that commands attention and gonna get some respect. Come with me for a second, family, and discover how these thrilling civilizations flourished, protected by towering highlands and sustained by advanced engineering. Some have asked, where is Jerusalem? Is it the land in the Middle East? I say no. It is in the highlands of Ethiopia. With hours of groundbreaking research, this book brings in a new revelation, and it will transform your understanding of African history and its connections to the ancient world. It's going to remove from your mind the conditioning by the Romans of what has really happened to our past. Come with me, family, to the Ethiopian highlands and find out why this is our land, why things have been hidden and obfuscated for centuries. We are royalty, children of the Most High. What kind of land do you expect us to have? Dried up dirt in the Middle East, or land flowing with rivers, a land full of beautiful animals flowing with milk and honey? Don't miss out on this monumental unveiling. Grab your copy today and stand on the side of truth. Visit Amazon.com or www.tailministries.com to purchase your book and join Jacoby Vale's teachings on Tail Ministries. Family, your journey to a hidden history has now begun. So family, get your copy of True Jerusalem, the Lost Kingdoms of the Israelites today. Journey to the heart of Africa, where history and legend converge to reveal the forgotten kingdoms of the Israelites and the true location of Jerusalem.